All right, so today we're going to look at which function eventually exceeds all the rest. So between linear, quadratic, and exponential, which one will eventually exceed all the rest? All right, so please make a couple of corrections to my note. For number 3 right here, could you cancel out Sam's and write Justin? All right, so I'm going to kind of jump around on this video because you actually know how to do all of it. I just want to remind you how to do average rate of change. So this all has to do with this situation. So Sam and Justice and Antonella each created a video on different social media platforms that they want to go viral. As soon as they uploaded their content, they immediately shared it with 10 friends and family. Below is the number of views each video received over the course of several hours. So you're going to, complete this table and then write a general equation for this table and answer what type of function it is and how you know, and then describe what in words you're going to describe in context what's happening in this problem. You're going to repeat that for Justin, and for Antonella, you're just going to complete the table and the equation. Then you're going to answer a couple of questions. So I'm going to just jump right in on calculate average rate of change over the first 3 hours of posting their content. And this is going to be average rate of change from a table. Okay, so go ahead and write that in. All right, so I'm going to come right here and go to my formula sheet in case we don't know how to do average rate of change yet. I'm going to read average rate of change. It says average rate of change is a change in the y values divided by the change in the x values for 2 distinct points on the graphs. And you can see that automatically that's what slope means. Only difference is it's over 2 distinct points. They give you x2 and x1. That's what that means. So I'm going to go ahead and already write this down so that I have this in my notes. So average rate of change, and we're going to call that AROC for short, and you can just write on the top there, is going to be the second y value minus the first y value divided by my second x value minus my first x value. All right, once we have that, it becomes relatively simple. We just got to figure out the values. To put it in the calculator though, please hit divide first. Hit divide first. In fact, I'm going to do that right here. Hit divide first. Okay, so you have to do that so that it can set it up for you. Then you're going to go parentheses minus parentheses over parentheses minus parentheses. And I'm not going to do this 3 times. I'm just going to change the number each time. All right, so I've set up my average rate of change. I'm ready to go. I know what goes on the top and I know what goes on the bottom. It's just a matter of putting it in. So the question does say over the first 3 hours. Okay, so from 0 to 3, that's what they're actually giving us. So sometimes they give you the interval in words. So this is 0 to 3. That means my first x value is 0. My second x value is 3. So looking at my formula, my second x value goes on the bottom. So I'm going to put that right here. So 3. And my first x value goes on the bottom right. So I'm going to put that right there, which is 0. I'm going to go ahead and pre-fill all of these out. So we're going to do parentheses minus parentheses over parentheses minus parentheses for all of them. All right, and for all of them, they're asking for the average rate of change on 3 hours, so all of the x values are going to stay the same. So they're all going to be 3 minus 0, 3 minus 0. And all we have to do now is figure it out from the table. What is my 3 for Sam? So I'm going to look at Sam's table. So this is Sam. So Sam, what are you at 3? At 3, you are 80. So I'm going to put 80, which goes with 3. All right, for 0, what are you, Sam? And you're going to find that 0 and you're going to put it right here. Okay, and I'm just going to give you the answer at the final because this is not filled out, but I want you to fill it out. So when you put that in the calculator, you're going to get, and actually I'm just going to write all of them. Justice at 3, he's 160. So this is 160. All right, and then at 0, you're going to fill that out. So you're going to put his 0 right there. And then Antonella, who's at 3, she's at 100. And at 0, I can see hers, which is 10. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 10 right here. All right, so I do have Antonella, so I'm going to put Antonella's in the calculator. But I am going to kind of go through the answers so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to use Antonella's because all the numbers are there. So that's 100 on the top one there and 10 right here. So her average rate of change is 30. Okay, so now you're going to fill out this number here because you already have this table filled out. All right, what does the information tell you about the situation? So what does the average rate of change over the first 3 hours actually mean? So average rate of change, it means the average number in the context of the problem, the average number of views, because it's a TikTok video, per hour for the first 3 hours. The first 3 hours. Okay, so it's the average number of views per hour for the first 3 hours. So once you get an answer, all right, for each of these, I want you to tell me who has the highest average number of views per hour for the first 3 hours. So you're going to tell me who that is. And I just want to point out one more thing. Let's say we got a repeating decimal here. So I'm just going to give you, put in a different number to get a repeating decimal. So let me do that. Something like this. See, this is a repeating decimal. If you click fraction, you can make that into a fraction. So remember not to put your answer as 23.3, but you must put it as 70/3 because technically this is 23.3333333. Or you can put a line right over the 3 and that's fine. All right, so just be careful with that. All right, so that's the average rate of change over the first 3 hours. Now we're going to look at what is the average rate of change over the interval from 5 to 10. So what it's saying in this situation, this is your first x value and this is your second x value. And we're going to repeat that process again. So we have parentheses minus parentheses over parentheses minus parentheses 3 times. All right, and this time, our second x value, so looking at our formula again, our second x value, bottom left, is now 10, and our first one, bottom right, is 5. So this is going to be 10 minus 5, and we're finding it for all of them. All right, so now that we have that, it's just a matter of, this is going to be average rate of change from an equation, and I'm going to show you in a second why it's going to be from an equation as opposed to the graph like it was before. So looking at this tables don't have the number 10, but you are going to find what the equation is. Okay, so what is the equation? You're going to write it here, and then I'm going to show you how do I find the average rate of change from an equation. So putting these equations in, how would I find the average rate of change? So obviously, I don't want to give you the answer to what the equations are, so I'm going to go ahead and just make one up real quick. Let's say that my equation was this. Let me make a quadratic one. All right, if my equation was quadratic, so I would input all my equations. How would I find, so the question is, I know what 5 is. Nope, I don't know what 5 is yet. But when you fill the table is, you'll know what 5 is. So how would I find, I want to find 2 values, one at 10 and one at 5. And I think you guys have voted that hidden table is the fastest way to do that. So I'm just going to press enter until I see the 5 value and put that up here. So where 5 is, I'll put it up there. And then go enter until I see the 10th value, and that's whatever the 10th value, and I'll put it in line with the 10th value. So I just wanted to get you started on how to do average rate of change from an equation. So that would be, if this was Sam's equation, I would be putting over here in Sam's, and then I would be putting it in, again, hit divide first, parentheses minus parentheses in the calculator. Okay, so just be careful that you're putting it in the exact spot that it goes in. So this will be 10, this will be 5, and then whatever values you got that matches with 10 goes here, whatever value you matched goes here. So the only difference between an equation and a table is you type the equation in. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and write that down. All right, so let's just say right here, type equation in Desmos, then click table. That way you know where to go. So now it's a table and it becomes the same as the other one. All right, so once you find what those functions are and find whatever the average rate of change is for each person, we're going to go ahead and answer the question, which says, what do you notice about the average rates of change in part 8, which is these right here, versus the previous average? Oh, I have these numbered wrong. So this is actually 10 since it says previous, and then 8. I apologize. All right, so what do you notice about the average rate of changes in part 10 compared to the previous average rate of change calculated in part 8? So what do you notice about these ones versus these ones? And then whatever you're going to say, why do you think it occurred? So remember, what is average rate of change? Average rate of change in the context of this problem is the average number of views per hour for the first, and this is not 3 hours, but this is for the hours 5 to 10, basically. So what do you notice about them? Why do you think that occurred? And then you're going to answer the rest of the questions. I just wanted to make sure that you were good with average rate of change. Let's practice.